melt the sun of ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have South Lakes coach Mike Desmond, who's Seahawks repeated as Northern Region champs, and this year are probably seen as a team to beat. Maybe not only the Northern Region, but maybe even the state, not to heap pressure on. Mike is a graduate of Chantilly. I forgot what year, Mike.
97. I'm old.
Yeah, you're old. 97 graduate of Chantilly. He's done a great job at South Lakes. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Well, first of all, I think 2 years ago when you guys won the region, you weren't on anyone's radar, I don't really think, until you beat Madison by 30 points that night. And then all of a sudden,
I think it was 46, but
yeah.
30, 40.
And I hope Kevin's listening. Yeah. But I don't think you became the favorite until that night. And then all of a sudden, everyone was like, South Lakes is the favorite. Last year, you definitely weren't the favorite. I saw you early in the year against Battlefield. It looked like you guys had a lot of work to do. I think Jordan developed a year earlier than people thought he was going to develop. I think everyone knew he was going to be great, but I think they thought sophomore year might be still a growth process, but he was already had a fantastic year. How do you feel about this year when you're clearly you or Patriot, and probably you guys are the team to beat?
You know me, right? Sandbag or whatever, but like, I don't really look at it as just a South Lakes or Patriot. I think there's a lot of teams in Class 6 that could do it. And I think maybe this year, the field's more leveled. I think the last 2 years, we kind of knew Hayfield was a problem for everybody. And, I think that the first year, the 22 year, I think they drubbed everyone, 20 plus points. Last year, they had some closer games, but a lot of them were comfortable. So I don't know if you could say like Patriot or South Lakes, are the ones. I really think there's a lot of other teams, especially up here, that can, and up here, I'm talking about 6B, C, and D, because we're all basically one. I think there's a handful of teams. So, where people may want to like say it's us or whatever, but if you talk to any of my kids, they will tell you that I tell them that they are terrible. They are not the favorite, and they've got to get a lot of work done to even be considered a favorite in my mind.
Terrible. I mean, I was a better player than Jordan Scott in high school.
Yep.
So let's before we get back to your team, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the area. First news is, the Scots, Jerome and Christy Winters, they remain loyal to you and South Lakes, as they should. He's developed great. He's doing amazing. He's already, I don't know how many Division I offers, including Power Fives he has, but I'm sure over 20 by now. So there's really no need to move. On the other hand, Miles Franklin from Madison, the son of Derek Franklin, the nephew of Daryl Franklin, guys you played with in high school, or at least shared Chantilly as alma mater. He's going to St. Andrews. Now, you can't really necessarily blame them. He was he would have been a young senior. He didn't have a lot of offers, and we both know how talented he is. When you look at these situations, do you still think it's tough for parents to remain loyal to their public school, or do you think the public schools have a very good story of why kids can develop and do very well in the public school?
So with Miles, he actually got American today. His mom sent me the text that he got an offer from American, and I think each kid's situation is different, right? Miles didn't leave Madison over basketball or lack of opportunity. Miles is 16. He started school a year too early. So they felt the best opportunity for him to grow as a human being, not just a basketball player, to get that extra maturity. So when he goes to college, he's not 16 or 17 or whatever, was to find him somewhere and reclass him. Basketball played a part of that, but that wasn't the reason why, and people who don't know, me and the Franklins are really tight. So, I'm not pulling this out of the air. Basketball was not the big factor for him leaving, but it's been beneficial, right?
Yeah. So, so you played with AAU with Virginia Elite with Jordan this year, and do you think so? These offers came from playing from Madison and AAU. I mean, he hasn't even set foot with a St. Andrews uniform on. I guess maybe summer league he has. I'm not sure, but do you think he would have had most of these offers anyway if he would have stayed at Madison?
I don't know. You could say the ones he has now. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who played around or with Jordan got the benefit of so many coaches having eyes on you, and the opportunity for I don't know a dozen kids, whatever he had on his AAU team. That opportunity is there, and parents, you got to get our kid a scholarship. You got to get her a scholarship. No, we don't. We're going to put you on a platform. And Thomas Gatson did a great job delivering on a promise he made to Jordan 2 years ago about getting him exposure, putting him in these events. Miles joining that group, I think it helped Jordan. I think it helped Miles. It definitely helped Virginia Elite. Jordan and Miles, I guess they basically do workouts together now. They became very, very close to that experience. So I don't know if he would have had the same offers, more offers, less offers if he would have stayed at Madison. Um, but I think probably the appeal now to some of these coaches is they're not offering a 24, they're offering a 25 now. So this just an additional year of development.
Yeah, I mean the same thing happened in Gibraltar Coleman. As soon as he reclassed, he got the offer. Well, I guess this came the year after, but it did put him in places where he wasn't in play. And look, I never want to say anything to discourage folks from playing for the public school. I think we have quite a few players who have signed Division I the last couple of years, so I think we have some momentum behind us. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the region before we get to South Lakes' team, because I know you're going to sandbag me anyway when it comes to South Lakes. Patriot played Highland this weekend, and I don't want to, we can't make too much out of off-season results, but it's still fun. It's still fun when you get these great matchups. I know that Highland had some very high-profile signings in the offseason. Nate, I think Ament from the kid that was at Colgan, I believe, right?
Yes, yeah. I think Colgan lost him and the other big kid too that they had.
So Patriot and Highland. What do you think about Patriot? Patriot has Desmond Hopkins. It has Vic. I forgot Dwight's son's name. Help me out with Dwight's. Isaiah Vick, and then they have the transfer from Osborne, Tay Barber. So they've retooled their team, and they're going to be very tough.
I mean, I think Sherman's always tough. I think after maybe his first year, he really got things going, and people want to play for him. He's a good coach, and when you look at just those three guys, and I tell Sherman this all the time, they'd probably get more wins if Desmond Hopkins spelled his name correctly. He spells it with a Z, and that's not the way you spell Desmond. Yeah. But I mean, just those three, and he has other pieces too. He had the young kid up last year as a freshman who shot the ball pretty well, who I know Sherman's trying to make him develop more of point guard leadership skills. They have another kid who's just a lights out shooter. He's kind of got the beard going.
Abe Billings.
Yes, and he just always seems to have just a plethora of players that when they get their opportunity, and you haven't heard of them today, but come January, he adds to always a list of 2, 3, 4 guys, and then you're talking about 8 guys with him. So, I mean, Patriots are really good, and I understand why people are talking about Patriot basketball. They should be.
Are they on your schedule for next year?
Yep, we go there. And I think it's the 17th or 18th of December. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I heard Sherman has some cousins who referee for Bull Run, so it'll be interesting.
I mean, look, Sherman has cousins who referee for Bull Run. There was a parade the other weekend just to honor Sherman. He was on his horse coming down Oaksville. So it's all Sherman out here.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Battlefield now. I saw you play Battlefield. Last year they had one of my favorite players, Maddox Tennant. I love the way the kid concentrates and really strokes the ball. Randall, Coach Bills does a tremendous job. He's such a good guy. But they lost a lot of great players. They lost, their own little golden generation, guys that had been starting for him for some of them more than 3 years. I think some of them played as freshmen. So he has to retool. And I know you opened with Battlefield. Do you think Coach Bills will be able to work his magic?
So, I mean, I think if you look at Randy's history, his track record, when he goes through a quote unquote down year, it's the beginning of that next golden age. Because that group that went down to the state finals with the Braden back in, I think, 18 maybe, he had them up for a couple years. He had 2, 3, 4 year starters and things like that. So, if Randy's down this year, it's probably just the beginning of the next run for him, to be honest with you. And, you mentioned he's like one of the best people, like one of the nicest people, in our business. So I'm sure maybe they look young or uncertain in December. They're probably not someone's favorite team to have to play come winter go home time in February.
Yeah, he's a positive coach. He's one of the toughest game coaches in the area. He may scream at them nonstop in practice, but during the game, he seems to get them to dial in. He tries to stay positive. I love the job that he's doing. Let's go across Northern Virginia to Hayfield. Now, Hayfield's won 2 state championships in a row. They beat you guys both years. I think last year's game was a great game. There were some plays in there. I thought if it went in a different way, and maybe if Saul doesn't get hurt, that game could be a little bit closer. I thought you guys really represented yourself well. Now, they graduated a lot of players, and they probably graduated 90% of their scoring. But me and you both know he's got a lot of talent over there, and he knows how to build like Coach Bills. Coach Poindexter is one of the best coaches in the history of the area. He knows how to build great teams. So what are you looking for this Hayfield team?
I think what you can't ever discount with Hayfield now is the pedigree, right? Those kids that we don't know of or know about, or we're just beginning to hear their names whispers, they played against top-notch competition their whole time at Hayfield. So I think it's probably nice for Carlos to probably have instead of the target on their back finally, let's go prove everyone wrong. We're still here. We're still a force to be reckoned with. And, in that district, the national district's kind of, I think there's a lot of questions this year. I think you knew, again, Hayfield was the best in the state and Edison was going to challenge them. I don't know who's going to be Hayfield's biggest threat in there, because I think there's a couple teams that are going to be tough. Like, people sleep on Jefferson all the time because it's Jefferson. They have an incredible big man. Mark is a defensive coach, and defense will always keep you in games and give you opportunities. So, that district, yeah, I think everyone's going to say it's still Hayfield's by far. But, I think they have more than just Edison to worry about now. And while those kids at Hayfield are learning to live up to the reputation, the Hayfield name, they're probably going to be a little up and down at times this year. But again, you don't want to play them in February.
Yeah. Well, I know Coach Mark announces baseball, and I guess it's fair to say Mark Jefferson's always a tough out when he's coaching there. Let's talk about Forest Park. Now, they made a run to state last year, a surprising run to state because they lost their 2 guards going into the season. Coach Mack, great guy. I love talking to him. Did a tremendous job. I heard those kids are back. If they're back, they have to be one of the teams to beat in the state as well.
100%. That's another team that I think people, if you don't know, that's a state contender. Not only does he have, Shaq inside, he got the guards back from Hilton. They came back. And then he got Forest Park's big man is now there. So you have 2.
You said Forest Park. You said Forest Park's big guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Dietrich lost his big kid.
Gotcha.
Oh, I'm sorry. Colonial Forge's big man to
gotcha.
Forest Park. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, they have two giant sized bodies inside now. And, come playoff basketball, if you can rebound and defend the paint and make some layups, you're really hard to beat. And again, they're athletic, they're well coached, they're going to play extremely hard. And they're probably one of those teams too that, maybe has a chip on their shoulder if people aren't talking about them enough. But Mac, I'm talking about you guys, so it ain't us.
Exactly. Well, South County had an interesting year last year because their point guard, who everyone was talking about, didn't play to the last few minutes, last few games, and then they got upset early in the postseason. And they had talent. Start off the season pretty well, but I think they were flat some of the year. Everyone knows he can coach. The guy, what's the coach's name?
Mike Robinson.
Mike Robinson can coach. Played at Purdue. I hear they're retooling pretty quickly, and I believe his son is playing.
Yeah, his son's there. Coach Carmichael from Chantilly's son plays over there. The Patriot district is going to be really tough. As always, right? But SoCo shows up to summer league games, fall league games with 20 dudes, and they all play extremely hard. They play great defense. They're physical. They're tough. They like to get up and down. And I mean, yeah, Mike's going to do a great job getting them back into, I thought they were always a contender. It was unfortunate with JMO's situation that didn't gel quicker with all the things that were going on, but South County's a problem, right? AC has a great backcourt. Doug Craig, I think Doug Craig's team is a contender with all that size, that depth. They have a fantastic freshman point guard who came to Woodson, and Doug wasn't sure if the kid was going to come. But I mean, he's dynamite player. No, I don't know his name, but I've heard all about him, and I think Fairfax is sneaky good over there. They have a lot of guys back who maybe, I'm not going to say were overshadowed by Margon, but now they get an opportunity to really step out on their own. So, I think you have a lot of good teams over in the Patriot district and Westpo, right?
Yeah.
Dave's group. And I think sometimes with Dave, it's funny because, like he's done the last 2 years, he's quietly hung around, and then come district playoff time, he starts knocking people off.
Yeah.
And what was he, the 6 seed last year, the 5 seed the year before, something like that?
Yeah.
So, I think Doug Craig always says it best where, whatever that 4-5 or 3-6 game over there in the district playoffs to see who's going to go to regions, that's a battle. So I think 6, I don't know if they're C or D. We're the other one. Whatever they are, we're the opposite. I think there's a lot of talent over there.
Yeah, I think Coach House and losing Donovan Bass Briscoe to Hayfield and still being able to win the districts, one of the best point guards in the area last year. That had to be one of the sweetest wins of his illustrious career. I assume we're going to see Marshall, Madison, Westfield, kind of the same cast of characters that are always McLean. They're always scrapping, for a good postseason draw.
I mean, I think when you look at Madison, right? We led the show talking about Miles leaving. You never really are. You never look at them as they're going to be bad, right? Because of the way Roller system works. You can plug guys in, and he finds ways in their system to make them look great. So, you scout Madison's players, but really, at least for us, we're looking at their system and how do we defend the system and how do we attack the 2-3 or the 1-3-1 zone more than we are just the player. So I think he's always going to be in the conversation. Jerry Lynn and Marshall have 3 senior guards. And, when you have 3 senior guards that have been playing together, playing several years on varsity, especially in the Liberty District, senior guard player, senior play in the Liberty District usually gives people, really tough teams, So I think there's other teams, like I know Bentley's got a bunch of size now.
Yeah.
They're athletic. And I think Carlos said it, but he told me he thinks Chantilly's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And while we didn't graduate anybody, I don't think Chantilly graduated anybody or a lot of anybody's that they were really leaning on last year. So I think Rodney has a really senior laden team of some really good players who've been through the ups and downs the last 2 years.
Yeah, I want to quickly shout out Omar Phillips. We talk a lot about Jose Fudd. Jason is it Jason Budd or Jason
Pin.
Jason Penn? Jason Penn, Fudd, but Jason Penn. But also Omar Phillips is a guy I like to watch. I like to watch him play. I think he's a smooth, operator back there. I think it's going to be a really good backcourt for Marshall. Coach, did we hear whether or not the kid at Westfield is going to stay? The kid that was going to transfer from Freedom, he's not okay. So he did not enroll in Westfield.
Nope.
Okay.
I guess he stayed.
Okay, what's his name again? I can't pull it.
Tavares Riley.
Tavares Riley, yeah, I like it.
So
Kid knows how to get to the foul line.
yeah, him and the Cisco, the other guard, they're both back. So that's talk about a scary backcourt. That's almost 60 points a game between the two of them.
Yeah, I think the Cedar Run is going to be. I think Patriot is going to face a Battlefield that's rebuilding. Osborne that lost Tay Barber. I think at the other side of the region is going to be much tougher this year. With Potomac will be strong. Forest Park, as we talked about. Woodbridge always has some athletes, so it'll be fun to watch. So quickly before we get to South Lakes, and I promise me I'll get to your team. Give me your Loudoun County projections. I live here now, and I know I'm going to talk to your buddy. Your buddy.
AP.
Yeah, he's at Tuskegee. He's not Tuskegee. He's at
Woodgrove.
Woodgrove. I'm getting to know the schools out here.
Woodgrove.
It's a school in Purcellville, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So give me your Loudoun County update.
All right. So for 4A in Loudoun County, I'm going to put the heat on KP. I think it's Woodgrove and John Champ and Walt Webb. I think those are the two teams to watch out of Class 4 out here. Just because of talent and coaching and the excitement. And then in 5, it's always going to be Jeff Halls and the godfather of Loudoun, right? Until it's not. So, Potomac Falls always does a great, great job. And I think, Kent at Stonebridge, I think they're kind of rebuilding. But I'm not 100% sure. But, to me, off the top of my head, Loudoun County basketball, I think Potomac Falls. Obviously, I'm biased, so I think Woodgrove and I think John Champ.
Just to let you know, the moment we moved in to Riverside's district, they've won 4 straight games. They were 2-8 last year. They're 4-0. So I think the fact that Nova Legends is living in Lansdowne, I wouldn't overlook Riverside.
I mean, Kaczynski probably loves having you there. Then
that's right. We're gonna make a run. All right, so let's get to South Lakes. And we talked a little bit about Jordan to open up the show. Tell us about his development. I mean, obviously, I got laughed at last year because I said that at the same level, I may even put him a little bit ahead of Grant Hill. And none other than Jerome Scott, Grant Hill's teammate, shot me down and said, "Look, no, we're nowhere near that there yet." But that might be a dad being humble and also trying to keep his kid with his head in the right direction. Where is Jordan now in his development?
You know what? I think the ceiling's still very high. I think he continues to improve on the things he does well already, and he shows you different things in his game that maybe wasn't there 2 months ago, 6 months ago. So, he's constantly in the gym. He's constantly working on his body, his strength, his conditioning, and his game. So I don't think he's even scratched the surface of how good he can be. And, it's just, again, watching him, he has such a great understanding of the game. And not just his footwork, but just his mental approach. And he has a good pulse of the flow of the game. So you never see him in too many situations where he's forcing something or playing hero ball. His willingness to pass, and he's a really good defender. He's a really good defender. And, we talk about, Brian and Saul's defense. Jordan at 6'7" can guard 1 through 5 pretty easily. So that's fun to watch that part of his game keep developing as well.
Yeah, he's the quietest scorer I've ever seen in Northern Virginia. He'll score 30 points. You're like, I only saw him shot the ball 10 times. How did he get 30?
He's very efficient, and and it's been great, the buzz around him and the coaches coming to the workouts. It's been very exciting. But like right now, and this is a shameless plug to the other coaches in the fall, right? There's a lot of good things sports wise going on at South Lakes. And it's exciting because our field hockey team, they're contenders. Our volleyball team, contenders. The cheer squad's a contender. And football's doing what football's supposed to do. Jason Hescock and I were talking, and he knows I was going to say this. I think South Lakes football is the best team in the district, the best team in the state, or the region, and he agrees. So I know there's that team in Vienna that's pretty damn good too, and they can get mad and they can see this as bulletin board material. But what do I know? I'm not a football coach. I'm just a dumb basketball coach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of exciting things going on at South Lakes.
Well, whenever you have a UVA guy as your coach, like Madison, you got to always put them in the game. So coach is I know Aiden's playing football. Is Brian Kennedy playing football as well?
Billings, Kennedy, Andre, Shunky, wow. Saunders, Redican, all play football. Okay. So, we haven't had our core group from last year playing in any game, summer, fall, pickup together. The last time they played together was the night we lost to Hayfield. So we haven't had everyone together yet, and we probably won't. Again, I think the football team's going to go deep. So I don't know when we're going to get those guys back.
Does that bother you that, it's great for the kids to play different sports. And I think, the memories they'll have playing as many high school sports as you can play, you can't match that. But your job is to get the basketball team ready. Does it bother you that you have so many kids that are on the football field?
It would bother me if they stunk. If they weren't doing good, it would bother me. But to see what they're doing right now, it's fun for me in a different. I'm proud of them out there in a different way than I'm on the basketball court. But it's just really fun to watch them loving something else and having success at that. So, maybe the most challenging thing has been trying to do workouts, or are we going to do a fall event? We're probably not, this, that, or what have you. But, success, breeds success. So hopefully things they learned in basketball have carried on to the football field. Things they learned on the football field will carry on to the hardwood for us. So it's just exciting to see them doing so well at something that they love.
Yeah, all this winning. It must be Dugan and Brophy that are just, they know how to put these programs together. Now, Aiden Billings, he looks like a Division I football player. Is he going to play football at the next level?
He's got some offers and some interest, and they're working on some things. He just picked up a D2 offer from somewhere the other day as well. So I think last year he missed so much time with his shoulder. There wasn't a lot of film on him. But now he's been able to go to some workouts. The more games, the more film, people are really looking more and more at him. So I believe he's going to be a Division I football player and at some level, and we get to watch him on Saturday somewhere.
How long do you think it's going to take you to get him in basketball shape?
I don't know. It depends when you get him back. I know he's and the other football guys, they have come to our workouts and just shot and dribbled. They don't do any contact stuff. So they're moving, they're touching a basketball. But Aiden, when he plays a full football season, he's actually in better shape when we get him than like last year while he was hurt. He wasn't doing anything. And Aiden wants to be great, and he wants to be great not just at basketball, but obviously football. So I expect him to really push himself to change football body Aiden into basketball body Aiden. But still, his hands are great, still there. His vision's still going to be there. His knowledge of the game's still going to be there. So maybe he's rusty early on, but we have such a tough December schedule, and Aiden gets up for those games. I think the best version of Aiden we always see is when the opponent is very, very good. So he'll get there. He'll get there when he needs to get there, and we'll just go with what he has when he has it.
Yeah, he's one of the most deceptive basketball players you'll ever see. Now, your backcourt, Saul Vita, I believe he was a sophomore last year. Brian Kennedy was a junior last year. We talked about he's playing football. Any big changes to your backcourt? Do you think are those guys continuing to evolve into better players?
Yeah, and Saul's had a good off season. He's put in the work. He's working on some of the things that we need him to work on. And when Brian's around, Brian's Brian. So, those two guys, we're going to lean on them to do good things. And in fact, maybe with this whole group, less is going to be more. We have a lot of guys back and a lot of guys made improvements. So maybe guys who didn't play a great amount of minutes are going to play more minutes. So if guys are playing more minutes, that means guys who played a lot of minutes might play less minutes. And I really think that we have a group of kids that, maybe 10 or 12 kids you could play in a quarter for the first two, maybe three quarters. And since we foul all the time, maybe foul trouble is not really going to be as big of a factor as it's been. So I'm excited for the depth that we have. My first 2 years, we played 10 or 12 kids a quarter. And the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do that. So I'm excited about the depth, the experience that guys got last year as sophomores and juniors.
Yeah. It's you had a lot of depth last year. I think you lost one player of your top 10, two players.
Yeah, one out of the top 10, two overall. Yeah.
Yeah. The 6'4" guy. I thought he played well against Fairfax in the state game.
Yeah, Nate Holmquist was a guy that was a matchup, right? If the other team had a big body, we could play him. If another team didn't have a big body, he didn't work out well with the up and down running the floor stuff.
Okay. Well, you mentioned James Shunky. I think he did a great job for you last year as well.
100%.
100%. Yeah, just does a little bit of everything. What about the JV team and any transfers of note?
So the guys coming off the JV team, I'm not going to mention any of their names because they have got to show me that they're ready for 7:30. And it's going to be really tough to make our team because again, we're bringing back 10 kids or 12 kids, 11 kids or something like that. So those guys, those juniors coming off JV, they're going to have to compete and fight. And there's a lot of guys like, who probably thought that maybe 3 years ago when they were freshmen that, when it's my time as a junior, I'll be up there. It's going to be tough. And then, yeah, we did. We got a couple transfers who are going to be impact players for us. Chris and David Rochester are now at South Lakes. And, I think, Jordan's a Division I player right now. I think David's a Division I player right now. And I think that hopefully we can get his name out there and get more people looking and interest on him. And I think his younger brother, Chris, who's just a sophomore, who shoots the lights out, he's 6'5". He might be a Division I player one day. So, those two guys coming and knowing that they're going to contribute, it kind of then, again, goes back to those guys coming off JV. Here are two more dudes. Two more guys who have moved into the area that weren't here when the school year ended last year. And they're two guys who are basketball only guys. So they get all that extra reps and those workouts in and things like that. So it's really going to be competitive. I'm looking forward to once we get that 12 to 15 guys' names on the roster, the practices should be wars. And we'll probably be breaking up scuffles. We'll probably be pushing kids to calm down and things like that, because no matter how you mix and match it, guys should be able to push the guy in front of them. So it's exciting.
Well, Coach, do we have to play the games, or can we go ahead and make you guys champs? Do we need to go through the motions, or do you think we should just go ahead and end it here?
All those other teams we talked about, I'll crown Patriot, I'll crown Forest Park, I'll crown Woodson. I have no problem crowning AC. Who's down south who's really good too, right? Like Oscar Smith. I'll crown them.
No, they lost their big guy. Yeah.
Okay, well, you could put us at number 10 or 15 if you wanted to. There's work to do, and I think we've seen, for different situations, the last couple of years, and last year, one team comes to mind where everyone had crowned them, and unfortunately, something awful happened, and that season didn't come together as good as it was on paper.
Hmm.
So I recognize that we are too loaded, we have talent, and it looks great on paper. But you don't get to climb ladders and cut nets because something looks good on paper.
Exactly. Well, Coach, do you think there's a chance we can get matchups with O'Connell and Paul VI, if not this year, maybe next year? I mean, your team with the Division I talent you have. I mean, obviously they may have a starting five of Division I at times. I'm not sure what they exactly have this year, but would you like to match up with some of the top private schools in the area while you have Jordan?
I think we're going to have to next year. I think we're going to have to make that happen one way or another. I mean, like I know PVI, I think they have 10 Division I players, like literally 10, and O'Connell has an NBA player right now. So
he can play in the NBA right now.
Yeah, no, he's an NBA player right now. He could probably start for the Wizards. So
yeah,
those are things, and I think it's just kind of like finding the win, right? When's it good for them? When's it good for us? And I understand with the powerhouse private schools like that, playing a public school, even a good public school, it's almost a catch-22 for them, right?
they can only
God
lose.
forbid if we beat them somehow, people probably burn down the school and they all get fired and, whatever scholarships are taken back. And if they don't beat us by a lot, it's the same thing. And if they do beat us by a lot, it's like, oh, well, you're supposed to beat them by a lot. So I think sometimes the public schools who want to play the privates, the privates who want to play the publics, especially those powerhouse privates, I understand why the powerhouse privates don't always do it because it's a lose-lose for them.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's not like, I mean, obviously everyone knows how good South Lakes is. In 88, 87, 88, DeMatha went down to Roanoke and they played Patrick Henry with George Lynch, Curtis Blair, that great Patrick Henry team, maybe the best team in the history of the state. And they lost. But everyone knew how good Patrick Henry was. And it's a game, people that were there who told me about it, I wasn't there, will never forget. So I do think, when you can make the moments happen, if they lost to South Lakes, it doesn't mean they're not a great team. I mean, this is basketball. Anyone can lose on a giving night. And I think it's pretty much understood. So hopefully we can make that happen. But look, we got with Patriot and Hayfield and Forest Park, you have plenty on your plate this year. So, but anyway, Coach, this has been great as always. One of these days I want to get the whole gang on the back together again for a weekend talk. Every time I try it, these jet setters are too busy. Maybe they want me to pay them more money now. But one of these days we'll get the whole team back together again.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just nice, like when you have them on, because Sherman and Los are really more dialed in to kids all over the state compared to what I am. So like I get my information from them sometimes, a lot of the times actually. So yeah, I mean it's football season now. I get it, and people are out there smash mouth right now. But like, yeah, it's always fun to get the groups together, and everyone likes to make fun of Doug Craig and his receding hairline and his balding hair where he takes the one piece and combs it around 6 times. So it's always great to get the guys together whenever possible.
Yeah, it's fun. People, it's a podcast that I'm asked about often, so people enjoy it. But Mike, this has been great. Thanks for all the great information. Great job putting together a great team. I know there's pressure on you to win because you have a great team, but you've already won 2 regional championships, and you don't get great players unless you do a great job. So this is also credit for a job well done. So I wish you best of luck, and let's get together definitely at least before the season starts.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I have to shout out because it's not just me, right? Herb Lansdowne, Dan Cincinnati, Matt Stoner, those guys all helped me tremendously with the varsity group.
Yeah, great. And Kim's great. I love the principal. Is always awesome. She's always
Mrs. Retzer is fantastic. She is fantastic, and of course, my man Andrew Duggan, all hail Duggan, keeping things together for us.
Exactly. At some point, I think I worked with him on the staff, but I can't remember where. I don't want to blow his cover as being a real old guy like me. But at some point, I think we worked for Charlie Thompson together. But
he did.
Yeah.
He was at Oakton with Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Coach. Thanks again for doing that. Let's be in close contact.
I appreciate it. Thank you again.
All right, buddy. You're welcome. Thanks. Take